Jake Van Lunen, I believe, and Adrian Sullivan will be in LA, so definitely check that out. And here we are. Welcome to the finals of the Star City Games Open Series Legacy portion. I'm Gavin Verhey. I'm here with Big Head Joe. It's been a fun weekend full of tons of magic.
Sure has.
And we are finally here, the last match of the tournament. On your right, Blake McCracken, playing one of the decks that I think is the story, one of the bigger stories of this Legacy event, playing Affinity without Arcbound Ravager. He's cut some of the staple cards. No Ravagers, no Workers, no Disciples. Nothing like Mike Eisenhower's deck that we saw 2 weeks ago in Edison. Instead, he's packing 4 Tezzeret Agent of Bolus, which has been unbelievable. We've seen him play it. You play it, you tick it up one, you go ultimate, and your opponent is just dead. It is unbelievably powerful. Blake McCracken has definitely proven his deck's worth, and Affinity is going to be a deck that I expect to see Hate pick up for. We'll see Katakis, Null Rods, Energy Fluxes, who knows what else. But on the other side, and there's some Hurkyl's Recalls in Scott Barrentine's sideboard, so this Hurkyl's Recall will almost certainly come in. Scott Barrentine, on the other hand, playing a deck. Interestingly enough, it's Merfolk. Alex Bertoncini is not playing it this time, though. Normally we get to the finals of a tournament, we expect, okay, it's going to be Alex Bertoncini playing the Merfolk deck. This time, no, it's Scott Barrentine, another player whose name I recognize, playing Merfolk. His deck looks a little different from Alex's. He's got a Sig River Cutthroat in the main deck as a one-of. He's got an Echoing Truth in the main deck as a one-of. He has Standstill, where Alex does not play Standstill. That's the biggest change, I feel, in my opinion. And his sideboard is totally different. He has access to Hurkyl's Recall, which is going to be really powerful in this matchup. He's got 2 Sora of Temptations between main deck and sideboard, an Umezawa's Jitte, and a Pithing Needle, all cards which are probably reasonable in this matchup. On the other hand, Blake McCracken's sideboard, not a ton for the Merfolk deck. I think when I was talking to Blake earlier, he mentioned that he thinks Merfolk is a pretty easy matchup. So, we'll see how this plays out. We'll see if it's as easy of a matchup as Blake thinks it is, or if Merfolk will end up being the champion 2 weeks in a row.
Rashad, are you on? Can you make sure that we don't tweet the winner until 5 minutes, until the feed catches, because we're 5 minutes behind apparently right now. So make sure we don't tweet the winner of the event. I'm saying, can you I am Glenn.
Seat of the Synod comes down with Mox Opal. Another incredible start by Blake McCracken. Seat of the Synod, Mox Opal, Frogmite, Signal Pest. 4 cards go. 3 points of power.
Pretty good.
Scott Barrentine only manages to muster Curse Catcher, a 1-drop. I'd say Blake definitely is the favorite in this matchup, but we've seen anything can happen this weekend. So
I'm not gonna leave. I'm just getting on.
Let's see, Blinkboth Nexus for Blake McCracken, and doing some counting. And what did he just play? It's a little bit off to the side there. Can't quite see what it is. I think he
tapped 3, so it looks like it might have been Etch Champion.
No, Mirror Enforcer.
Okay.
He does have Etch Champion in his hand, I'm pretty sure, though. I think that's the last card of his. But against Merfolk, I think he just wanted to deploy his biggest threats and crash in and then allow Etch Champion to clean up. So,
sure.
Let's see. Here comes Cranial Plating. Oh my. Okay, and Scott's like, nope, have to Force of Will that one. So Cranial Plating gets Force of Willed, keeping Blake off of the insanely powerful equipment. Still, Blake can serve in for 3 this turn with Frogmite and Signal Pest, giving the Battlecry +1/+0 bonus to the Frogmite.
Did we even see a single counterspell from Jerry last match? I don't think we did.
I mean, Jerry's counterspells are Force of Will and Daze. We did see him force that Signal Pest in the semifinals.
Oh, that's right. So there was one, but yeah. This is the first time that I've seen Blake's spells, not get disrupted,
Jerry opted for Hymn to Turak as his form of disruption against Blake. So Scott plays Silvergill Adapt, and Alex Bertoncini was calling the card the blue 2/1 Brainstorm. I don't know if I would go that far, but it's certainly pretty good, picking up a card and serving a 2/1 body, which is just what the Merfolk deck looks for. Blake McCracken drops Etched Champion, a card which is basically impossible for a Merfolk deck to deal with. I was actually a little dubious of Etched Champion at first, but we've seen time and time again, you just play that card, and your opponent just can't deal with it in this format.
Like, you can just crash through, it can stay back and block.
Yeah, no, like you can block Tarmogoyfs, you can serve through any number of creatures.
And I think most important to note is that it can actually hold a cranial plating, because it's, you know, pushed from all colors, but...
Now, note that you cannot Tezzeret it as long as it's metal crafted, which hopefully it should be.
Right.
But yeah, it can definitely hold cranial plating, which unblockable cranial plating is pretty unbelievably powerful.
I think if this deck has 3 mana, it's metal crafted, right?
So, Blaine taps some mana, and here comes a second Etched Champion. His 2 Etched Champions both out this game. And looks like Signal Pest and Champion are going to get in, pushing through 3 points of damage. Dropping Scott Barrentine's life total to 10. Scott draws for his turn. I think I see a standstill in his hand. I think he just drew a Wasteland. Wasteland might be able to temper Blake's mana, can take that Blinkmoth Nexus away, preventing 2 points of damage from coming through.
We're not talking about cards in their hands, so... Well, he can hear us from over at the thing, so we definitely have to not mention cards in people's hands any longer, so...
Alright, that's fine.
I don't think we were, but he was just telling us he could hear us. So.
Sure, definitely. We'll be quiet. Yeah, everyone's pretty much cleared out. Once again, it's one of those weird things where you look up and it's just a desolate wasteland. You see tables everywhere, nobody sitting in them but apparitionally ghosts that don't exist. And there's just one match with a small crowd around it. And Scott figuring out what he wants to do here. Yep. Right. Looks like he's thinking about what he wants to play and if he wants to use that Wasteland to cut off Blake's Blinkmoth Nexus. The double Etched Champion is so strong for Blake here. I mean, he can serve in with both champions for 6 next turn with the Signal Pest, 8 if the Blinkmoth Nexus is allowed to stick around. And down comes Lord of Atlantis, which will pump all of Scott's Merfolk, but the Island Walk ability doesn't do anything relevant in this matchup.
Nope.
Blake draws for his turn.
Yep.
Down comes Seat of the Synod. Oh, or not. Okay, first he's going to Thoughtcast, see if he finds anything he likes a little better. Blake thinking about what he wants to do here. Alright, so now he plays the Seat of the Synod.
Confirmed. Still no black source if he were to get a Tezzeret. Alright, that's right, Mox Opal, never mind.
Yeah, he can...
Mox Opal adds any color.
Mox Opal is just such a powerful boon for this deck. Alright,
Another
Thoughtcast again.
Thoughtcast.
Draw 2 cards. And here comes a free Frogmite. And here comes a free Mirror Enforcer. And that's the Affinity deck in action. Doing this since, I don't know, 2005 or so?
Yeah.
2004.
2004.
Just drop out those free Affinity cards, and it's a deck that's moved in and out. And this weekend looks like it might finally be its weekend. All right.
Mirrodin came out in fall of 2003, and then Darksteel came out in 2004.
And so, looks like Blake is going to be able to serve in for 6 here. Okay, so the one Echoing Truth out of Scott Barrentine's list will return that Signal Pest, buying maybe a little bit of time for Scott Barrentine, but by doing it then he allows Blake to activate his Blinkmoth Nexus. There's no good way around it, because once he attacks, the Battlecry bonus is locked in. But if he wants, he can get in with the Nexus this turn. Okay, so he plays Spring Leaf Drum, and then serves for 4 with the 2 champions. Scott's life total goes down to 6, and Blake has him on the next turn. We'll see if Scott finds anything, but Blake could be off to an early 1-0 lead.
What an explosive deck. Just the ability for him to just keep thought casting and get more cards and play more threats. Just never ends.
Yeah, it's pretty unfair when you're a very powerful beatdown deck not gets access to a draw 2 for 1 blue mana,
Yeah.
and then Tezzeret, which is, draws a card, makes 5/5s, and just straight up kills your opponent sometimes. Now Scott is trying to figure out a way out of this. Oh, and he just picks up his cards.
Yeah.
Blake off to an early 1-0 lead here in the finals. Could we see Affinity win? It's
looking like it, although, I mean, now Scott has some answers in his board, so...
Yeah, I mean, he does have those 2 Hurkyl's Recall, which are going to be great. Although the thing about Hurkyl's Recall that's really interesting is, I mean, it's good against Affinity, but it's not insane. It sets them back about 1 turn, because, they pick up all their cards, and they can just replay a bunch of them. You can still play all your Ornithopters, all your Memnites, all your Mox Opals, all your Affinity cards, Artifact Land. So,
right.
We'll see what happens if that goes into play.
It's a nice, it'll slow him down a little bit.
In the meantime, we could give away a whole year of Star City Games. Of StarCityGames.com Premium. I used to do text message. Of StarCityGames.com Premium. And I'll send a whole year of StarCityGames.com Premium. And so get your Twitter accounts ready. Hashtag SCG Premium. Just answer the question we ask, and one of you will be chosen to win the prize randomly. And you'll get a whole year of getting to view articles by people like Jerry Thompson, top 8 competitor in this event, or semifinalist even in this event, winner of the Standard Open Series. I get to view articles by Patrick Chapin, articles by Brian Kibler, articles by Mike Flores, Player of the Year Brad Nelson, Guillaume Matignon, Sam Black, all kinds of top 8 competitors, and many, many more. So stay tuned. Did you have a question you wanted to ask, Joe, or should I do one?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Jerry Thompson, big run in this tournament. He did really well in the Legacy portion, made it all the way to the semifinals. Yesterday, in Standard Open, he made it all the way through the tournament, ended up winning. What were the 3 decks that Jerry faced in the top 8 of the tournament, of the Standard Open? What 3 decks did Jerry defeat in the Standard Open to win the tournament? Tweet us the answer, and you could win. 12 months of Star City Games Premium. Just a hint, the top 8 brackets are available on StarCityGames.com. If you check out the Standard Open page, you can see all the deck lists from all the top 16 deck lists from the event. You can see round by round pairings and standings. So definitely check it out. And by the end of this match, not only will we have a winner of the tournament, but we'll have a winner of 12 months of StarCityGames.com Premium. In the meantime, both players go into their sideboards, and I'm looking over the lists here, and I'm trying to figure out how these players are going to sideboard. What I'm trying to figure out, one big question for me, is if Scott Barrentine is going to bring in his back to basics. That would make it so that Blake McCracken can no longer untap any of his lands. But on the flip side, it is a little slow and doesn't stop Springleaf Drum and Mox Opal. Also, it doesn't stop any of his affinity cards that come down for free, but it probably does keep him off of Tezzeret, Agent of Bolas. I don't know how insane Tezzeret is in this matchup particularly, though. It's not really one of the slower control matchups, and when I was talking to Blake earlier, he said this was a matchup that he really, really wanted it for. Or sorry, that the control matchups were the matchups that he wanted it for. But Merfolk, wasn't that exciting. The beatdown matchups, he didn't really feel like he needed it as much. He just wanted to play the affinity game, and he would be able to beat those decks on their own. So maybe Back to Basics comes in. Hurkyl's Recall definitely comes in. The Sword definitely comes in. The GT definitely comes in. Maybe the Pithing Needle comes in for Scott Barrentine, and then maybe the 1 Threads of Disloyalty. Looking at the deck list, gets Ornithopter, Memnite, Signal Pest. That's probably not good enough. So it looks like we're going to be bringing in 1, 2, 3, 4, between 4 and 6 cards or so, maybe 7 cards at most. Taking out a Relic of Progenitus and Scott Barrentine's main deck that he's not going to need. really like standstill in this matchup. It seems like you're not going to be at that kind of parity very often. You're going to be on the back foot against Affinity, so you're not going to have the opportunity to draw cards. Spell Pierce, not that great.
Nope.
I mean, you can counter Thoughtcast and Cranial Plating, which is nice, but I don't know if you can afford to leave that kind of mana up. Day's okay on the play. On the draw, it might not be as good. So we'll see what Scott decides to do. For out of Blake McCracken's deck, nothing in the sideboard really looks that awesome to me. Maybe you could bring in Pithy Needle if you wanted to hit Mutable and Aether Vial, but let's see. And I mean, maybe Diabolic Edict potentially, but so yeah, and probably not a lot of sideboarding for Blake McCracken here. Players looking at their opening hands, studying, is this the hand I'm going to keep? Is this the hand that could win me the finals or lose me the finals of a tournament? Those open points are at stake. That money is all at stake. It's a huge match, a lot riding on this for both players. Both of them are qualified for the Star City Games Invitational, I believe now, but if they weren't already. Just staring at their hands, trying to figure out what's going on. Alright, and Scott ends up shipping his back. And it looks like Blake McCracken. Yeah. Looks like Blake is happy with his. Blake has had a series of insane hands. This hand, I don't know, I haven't seen what's in it, but it might be really good. He kept it pretty fast. Both hands against Jerry were really good. And then the third game against Adam Kai, so that's 4 hands in a row that have been pretty powerful, and at least had good draws to supplement them too. I mean, you found Tezzeret when you needed it against Jerry. You found Cranial Plating, which might not have even been necessary, but was still a pretty good draw against Jerry there.
Yeah.
So, let's see what happens. So Scott's going down to 6 cards, and that's really not helpful for him on the play here. He's going to need every card he can get to combat Blake, especially if he has a fast Affinity draw. Now, no doubt he's searching for those Hercules recalls.
Yeah.
But like I said, I mean, I lost in the finals of PT with Affinity. I played a lot of Affinity in the past and extended, and Hercules Recall is good. Like it's a time walk, which, don't get me wrong, is a strong card, but it really only takes the Affinity deck 1 turn to rebuild.
Right.
You can cast it at the end of their turn, and they have to pick up a bunch of their cards and maybe discard a couple, but it's not as insane. Granted, also I was looking for maybe as a falter effect, so we can attack with all this Merfolk and kill Blake. Alright, looks like Scott is keeping, and they're off to the races. Scott has no turn 1 play, leading on a island. Blake has Vault of Whispers, Ornithopter. Memnite. Oh man, here we go. Looks like Springleaf Drum. Frogmites. Yep, 5 cards, seems real fair. And this is what the Affinity deck does. It's just crazy.
Is he not done?
He's thinking about it. We saw
crap.
6 cards on turn 1 on the play against Adam Kai in the quarterfinals.
Look at this.
And let's see what he's doing here. And looks like he's going to play. Yep, Pithy Needle comes down. Alright, it resolves.
What do you think he names there?
I think you either name Wasteland.
Wasteland.
I don't know if you're worried about Aether Vial right now with the tempo you have. Although, I guess if he Wastelands himself, that's fine too. So maybe you name Mutavolt? I don't know. I don't know if it's incredibly important.
No.
Maybe you might actually name Jite. That's a way that Scott can get back in the game. Can we get confirmation on what he named Rashad, please? Wasteland.
So he did name Wasteland, okay.
Did name Wasteland. Blake does some counting, and then cast a Mirror Enforcer for a single mana. He asks Scott if he's going to let it resolve, and it looks like it, based on how...
Come to LA next weekend, bring your Affinity hate.
And Blake serves in with that Frogmite. And here comes another Mirror Enforcer.
Oh my goodness.
All over the place. Did Blake not attack with that Memnite? Just, I guess his opponent had Mutavault, but...
Right.
It would at least deter the possibility of dazing something. I don't know what Blake's last card is. I thought maybe he might tap those Springleaf Drums this turn. But if he had to pick up that island to daze, it would buy some time. But no. So Silver Gill Adept comes down for Scott and plays another Mutavault. And Blake plays a second Vault of Whispers and taps. Oh, here comes something. 3 Master of Ethereum.
Oh my goodness.
It's just unbelievable. Blake McCracken.
Wow.
Okay, so he dazes it.
Yeah. Seems about right.
And Blake serves in. He's like, all right, you dazed my guy.
Still coming in for 11.
Yep, take 11. I mean, that Silver Gill that probably has to block that Frogmite, right? I don't know how Scott is going to win this game. Like, he could Hercules Recall, but I don't think that even does anything. Yep, blocks the Frogmite, takes 9, chops his life total straight in half.
Holy crap.
He's drew standstill, not doing anything, and he just passes back. Blake is like, all right, do you have the recall? Taps 2, you're cranial plating. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And here comes cranial plating on an Ornithopter. Does Scott have the recall? We're going to find out. All right, so he does have the recall. Buying a little bit of time, but really, like, Blake's like, okay, second main phase. He's just going to be able to replay a bunch of these cards. I mean, he didn't play a land this turn, right? So he can play a land.
Right.
And then play 0 cost and a Springleaf Drum.
Memnite, right?
Yeah, I mean, he can play everything but the Mirror Enforcers, I think, this turn. Ornithopter, Memnite. Pay 1 for Springleaf Drum. Play.
Now the problem is here that Scott needs about 20 Hercules recalls.
Play Pithy Needle.
He might even name Mutavault.
Yeah, he got to reset his needles, which is pretty convenient for Blake McCracken.
Yeah.
So he's going to name Mutavault almost assuredly. I'll ask Rashad, but I can't imagine naming anything but Mutavault here. Unless you wanted to name GTA just in case, but... And... is Blake thinking?
Force of Will just...
Oh yeah, Force of Will. So he Force of Wills the Pithy Needle. So we'll never get to know what Blake would have named, but Scott looking down, trying to figure out how he's going to come back from this. That recall bought him some time, but he knows there's a cranial plating in Blake's hand. He knows there's a pair of Mirror Enforcers in Blake's hand. Now that a standstill came down.
And he does have mana up, so...
Yeah. It looks like standstill might draw Scott some cards here. I don't think Blake has any choice but to crack the standstill. I think you just, unload your hand and be like, all right, well, you have 3 cards. What are you going to do with those 3 cards? You only have 2 Hercules recalls.
Right, one of them better be a Hercules recall, Yeah. That's about what it comes down to.
Sure. I mean, you can maybe counter some of the cards, but...
Right, but...
All right, and there's a Frogmite. And... standstill breaks. Scott gets to draw 3 cards. And the way it works, Scott can still respond to that Frogmite if he wants, because a standstill trigger goes above Frogmite's trigger.
Casting.
So by letting it resolve, he can still counter it, the spell. But he chooses not to. Plays out a cranial plating. Plays out a Mirror Enforcer. And then we're going to see the other Mirror Enforcer. Yep. Like I said, Hercules Recall is a time walk. But it's good, but
Not
against
much
Affinity,
more, unfortunately.
Affinity is like a lot of time walks. And equips it to the Ornithopter and attacks. And that's it.
And that's game.
Congratulations
Wow.
to Blake McCracken, our Star City Games Open Series Legacy champion. Piloted his Tezzeret Affinity deck all the way to first place. We're going to get him in the booth to talk to us a little bit about how he feels, about what he would change. I talked to him earlier, and he said maybe the last mock symbol wasn't necessary, but other than that, he really liked everything. And I'd be curious to know, now that all's said and done, what he would change. We're going to get him over here as soon as possible.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, if you could.